Today in the show, Barcelona sells Ferran Torres to PSG for 50 million euros and goes all in on the transfer market. Meanwhile, the Catalans return with a third proposal for Rodri. Tijjani Reijnders moves to Saudi side Al-Qadsiah for astronomical money, and Inter announces the signing of Jed Spence. We talk about all this and much more right now. Inter has closed the transfer of 26-year-old English Tottenham right-wing back Jed Spence, fully agreeing the final paperwork package. The Milan club will shell out 31.5 million euros for the player as a fixed fee, while factoring in bonus payouts. The final check for the deal will reach 35 million euros. The footballer is already in Italy, having passed his medical examination and signed a long-term contract. The official announcement will come in the next few hours, or most likely, by the time you are watching this, it has already happened. The deal is beneficial for both parties. The Italian giant immediately solves a personnel issue following the sale of Denzel Dumfries, acquiring an athletic and pacey performer tailored to a tactical setup with 3 central defenders. For Tottenham, this sale represented a logical move on the market, as the player refused a secondary role in a team where Pedro Porro holds down the right flank like ironclad bedrock. Having bought the Englishman from Middlesbrough for a fee of around 15 million euros, the Londoners are selling him for 35 million euros, which allows them to raise necessary resources for further squad reinforcement. Thus, everyone is satisfied. Spence will play regularly and fight for victory in Serie A, while Tottenham received a clean and solid profit. Manchester City has wrapped up a deal to sell 28-year-old Dutch central midfielder Tijjani Reijnders to Saudi side Al-Qadsiah, agreeing a fixed transfer fee of 61 million euros. The footballer has already missed the English team's training session and is flying out for a medical examination in Saudi Arabia. The primary driver behind this move was the player's burning desire to win trophies in Saudi Arabia. But jokes aside, this is an astronomical jump in income that nobody in Europe could offer him even close. In England, the midfielder earned around 5 million euros per year before tax, leaving him with roughly 2.7 million euros net, whereas the Saudis offered the Dutchman a 3-year contract with a salary reaching 18 million euros per year free of any tax deductions, alongside well-balanced signing-on bonuses. In 3 seasons in Asia, the player will earn significantly more than over his entire previous European career phase. As the saying goes, play football in a way that lets you finish your career in Saudi Arabia. From an accounting and financial fair play perspective, selling Reijnders for 61 million euros locks in a substantial net profit in the current fiscal year's reporting for Manchester City, completely untying club management's hands in the transfer market. The incoming liquid cash injection allows the Manchester side to immediately cover the lion's share of costs for 18-year-old French talent Ayyoub Bouaddi, for whom Lille demands between 80 and 100 million euros, and with whom personal terms have long been agreed. Thanks to the amortization mechanism split across Bouaddi's long-term 5-year contract, his annual cost in financial reporting will cost the citizens merely around 18 million euros. Receiving 61 million euros up front while expensing a minimum in the annual report, Manchester City creates a colossal surplus on the balance sheet, allowing them to calmly hold parallel negotiations over signing Enzo Fernández. PSG has closed a high-profile deal to sign 26-year-old Spanish Barcelona forward Ferran Torres, paying the Catalans 50 million euros as a fixed fee and structuring roughly another 5 million euros in bonus payouts. The Spaniard signed a 5-year contract with the Parisians with a net salary ranging from 10 to 12 million euros per year, which practically doubles his previous wage in Spain. Torres' market demand skyrocketed following the triumphant 2026 World Cup, where his winning goal in the final against Argentina delivered gold medals to the Spain national team. Following the World Cup, the player publicly demanded confirmation of his star status from the Blaugrana, yet Hansi Flick could not guarantee him an ironclad starting spot. The decisive factor was Parisian manager Luis Enrique, who personally insisted on signing Torres, knowing his potential inside out from working together in the national team. With this decision, Barcelona effectively went all in on the transfer market by letting go of their last recognized central forward. As in Flick's squad for that position, only Robert Lewandowski and Ferran himself remained. The final 2 weeks of the transfer window promised to be extremely hot for the Catalans, as the club's main target, Julian Alvarez, is flatly blocked by Atletico Madrid, despite the Argentine's own desire. But Atletico is Atletico, as always, sitting deep in defense. Despite this roster risk for Barcelona, this transfer proved to be virtually the largest and most lucrative sale of Joan Laporta's entire second presidency. You might ask, what about Ousmane Dembele's transfer to the very same PSG, for whom 50.4 million euros was once announced? However, things turned out far more complicated there. Due to special contract clauses, almost half of that sum was taken by the player himself and his agent, leaving the club with only a fraction of the funds. Whoever didn't know this fact, drop a like. In Torres's case, all 50 million euros go straight into the Catalan club's treasury without third-party commissions. The funds received allow the Blaugrana to immediately close the deal with Manchester City for the transfer of Rodri and fit within the strict limits of financial fair play. As for Rodri, Barcelona returns with a third official offer for the transfer of the 30-year-old Spanish defensive midfielder, expecting to close a major deal at the decisive stage of direct club talks. After the Manchester side sequentially rejected the first two packages of 50 million euros and 60 million euros, including bonuses, the Catalans prepared an improved offer. The Blaugrana expect to meet the English side right in the middle at a mark between 65 and 70 million euros as a fixed payment plus easily achievable add-ons. Currently, fierce bargaining is underway between the clubs over literally 5 million euros. Of course, for us ordinary mortals, that is an astronomical fortune. But for giants of this caliber, it's pocket change. So bosses from both sides are guaranteed to reach a compromise. The player himself conducts himself as an absolute professional. Having returned to Manchester on a commercial flight following a vacation with his family, he reported for training under Enzo Maresca without any walkouts. Nevertheless, the Ballon d'Or winner directly informed management for the first time that due to personal reasons, he seeks to return to Spain, and he has already fully agreed personal terms with Barcelona. For Manchester City, these extra millions of euros are critical, as the citizens are currently under immense pressure from a Chelsea ultimatum regarding Enzo Fernández. The Londoners made it crystal clear that they expect a final offer strictly by 5 o'clock on Friday afternoon, London time, in the amount of 140 million euros net without installments, warning in advance. In the event of a refusal, the Argentine will not be sold even in the January window. Understanding that Barcelona just received 50 million euros net from selling Ferran Torres to PSG, executives at the English club are squeezing maximum liquidity out of Laporta right now to seal their own primary transfer target of the summer. After closing the deal for Ferran Torres, PSG is not slowing down in the market and continues a major transfer offensive across several fronts simultaneously. First and foremost, the Parisians are on the home stretch in negotiations for 21-year-old Belgian Ajax winger Mika Götze, identifying him as their primary target for the left attacking flank. Personal terms with the player himself are fully agreed, and executives from both clubs are ironing out the final details. In the near future, the French giant will submit a final official offer that will exceed 50 million euros and place an exclamation mark on negotiations. In parallel, PSG is engineering a clever three-way scheme for the future, reaching an agreement with Parma to acquire 23-year-old Japanese goalkeeper Zion Suzuki. The Parisians are buying out the keeper for 35 million euros, including add-ons, signing him to a 5-year contract. However, the Parisians have no intention of keeping the Japanese shot stopper as a third choice. Instead, the club will immediately send Suzuki on a 1-year loan to Juventus, where the Turin side will cover his wage in full and pay approximately 3 million euros for a dry loan agreement without a mandatory purchase option. In the end, Parma secures a solid net profit. The Turin side covers their goalkeeping position with minimal expenditure, and the Parisians develop their promising asset in Serie A for free. Such hyperactivity from the Parisians in the market creates a direct domino effect for the English Championship. Massive attacking acquisitions definitively open the door for 23-year-old French forward Bradley Barcola. The player is already effectively sitting on his suitcases, has booked tickets to England, and is merely awaiting the final green light from management to travel to Liverpool for a medical examination. Speaking of Juventus, the club agreed another important transfer this summer, reaching a verbal agreement with Bologna for 28-year-old Colombian central defender Joan Luke. The Turin side will shell out 20 million euros as a fixed sum for the defender, plus easily achievable add-ons. Formal exchange of documentation is scheduled for the next 48 hours, and as early as this weekend, the footballer will arrive in Turin to undergo a medical examination and sign a 5-year contract with a net salary of 2.5 million euros per year. Initially, Bologna bosses demanded nearly 28 million euros for their defensive leader, but the Turin side managed to significantly drive down the price thanks to the player's firm stance. The Colombian flatly rejected all alternative options, notably from English side Nottingham Forest, where he was offered a salary 1 million euros higher and told management that he seeks a move exclusively to Juventus. By the way, he could have moved to Saudi Arabia, though nobody actually offered him that.